Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, the brothers who preserved fairy tales. One life. Jacob Ludwig Karl Grimm and Wilhelm Karl Grimm, commonly known as the Brothers Grimm, were born in Hanau, Germany, Jacob on January 4, 1785, and Wilhelm on February 24, 1786. They were the eldest sons in a family of 9 children. Their father, Philipp Wilhelm Grimm, was a lawyer and town clerk, and their mother, Dorothea Grimm, came from a family of councilmen. The family's financial situation worsened when their father died in 1796, forcing the brothers to take on responsibilities at a young age. The Grimms pursued their education at the University of Marburg, where they studied law. However, their academic journey took an unexpected turn when they developed a passion for German folklore, linguistics, and medieval studies. Under the guidance of Professor Friedrich Karl von Savigny, they became deeply interested in historical and literary scholarship. Their studies in law eventually led them to positions in academia, but their actual impact would be in literature and linguistics. Jacob and Wilhelm worked closely together throughout their lives, often supporting each other during difficult times. While Jacob remained unmarried and devoted his life entirely to scholarship, Wilhelm married Dorothea Wild in 1825 and had children. Despite this, the brothers maintained an inseparable professional and personal bond. They held various academic positions, including roles at the University of Göttingen and later the University of Berlin, where they made significant contributions to German philology. 2 main works. The Brothers Grimm are best known for their collection of fairy tales, children's and household tales, first published in 1812. This collection, later known as Grimm's Fairy Tales, became one of the most influential compilations of folklore in history. Their intent was not initially to entertain children, but to preserve German oral traditions, many of which had been passed down for centuries. The collection included famous stories such as Cinderella, a tale of perseverance and justice featuring magical intervention and a lost slipper. Snow White, the story of a princess, a jealous queen, and 7 dwarfs, highlighting themes of envy and beauty. Hansel and Gretel, a dark yet fascinating tale about 2 siblings who escape from a wicked witch. Little Red Riding Hood, a cautionary story about the dangers of trusting strangers. Beyond their fairy tales, the Grimms contributed significantly to linguistics and historical studies. Their work on the German dictionary was a monumental effort to compile a comprehensive etymological dictionary of the German language. Though incomplete during their lifetimes, the dictionary remains a cornerstone of German linguistic scholarship. The Grimms also wrote extensively on mythology, medieval literature, and law, further solidifying their legacy as scholars. 3. Anecdotes and controversies. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm's lives were filled with interesting and remarkable stories. One well-known anecdote is their rigorous approach to collecting fairy tales. Unlike other folklorists who traveled widely to record oral traditions, the Grimms often invited storytellers, primarily women, to their homes to recount these tales. Dorothea Weimann, a woman of Huguenot descent, narrated some of their most famous stories. Her versions of folklore were considered authentic and rich in detail. Despite their enduring legacy, the Brothers Grimm faced various controversies. One of the main criticisms of their fairy tales is their original darkness and violence. Many of the early versions of the stories contained brutal and explicit details, such as Cinderella's stepsisters mutilating their feet to fit the glass slipper, or the evil queen in Snow White being forced to dance to her death in red-hot iron shoes. Over time, as the tales became more popular with children, Later editions softened many of these gruesome elements. Another controversy concerns the authenticity of the Grimm's work. While the Grimms claim to preserve genuine folk traditions, some scholars argue that they altered and romanticized certain elements to fit nationalist and moralistic ideals. Their focus on Germanic folklore, rather than a more diverse representation of European tales, has been criticized as part of a larger nationalist movement during the 19th century. Some left-wing critics also examine the gender roles depicted in their fairy tales. Many stories reinforce traditional views of femininity, portraying women as passive figures awaiting rescue, while male characters often take on heroic roles. Though these narratives reflected the cultural norms of their time, they have sparked discussions on gender representation in literature. For conclusion, Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were more than just collectors of fairy tales. They were scholars, linguists, and cultural historians whose work continues to influence literature, linguistics, and folklore studies. Their meticulous efforts in preserving folk stories ensured that countless generations could enjoy timeless tales that shape our collective imagination. Despite controversies regarding their adaptations, nationalist leanings, and the dark nature of their stories, their contributions remain invaluable. Today, Grimm's fairy tales are recognized worldwide, inspiring countless adaptations in literature, film, and theater. From Disney animations to psychological interpretations, their stories continue to captivate audiences. Whether seen as scholars or storytellers, the brothers Grimm remain two of the most important figures in literary history, ensuring that fairy tales live on for generations to come.